What's up, guys? It's Sammy Hand here with iGauge South. I'm going to be giving a quick tutorial today on how to use Landstar 8 for irrigation mapping. Now, this is not an in-depth tutorial. This is just going to be an attempt to give you the building blocks so that you can customize your own pivots, your own designs. So I'm going to open up my CAD view. That's where we're going to be doing everything in this tutorial, is in the CAD view screen. Now, I have a few fields that I just roughly mapped from aerial, and that will be fine for what we're doing in this tutorial. Now, in a real world situation, you may want to collect your own data in the field rather than from satellite imagery, but it'll serve fine for this tutorial. So we're going to go through quite a few different scenarios, and as I said, there is no exact way to teach this because there's so many unique situations that you could run into. But we'll start with the easiest situation first, okay? So let's begin with this field. This will probably be the easiest to start with. So before I even begin doing this, there is a tool here that you're going to need to be very familiar with. It is the snap tool, which is this little circle with an arrow on it here. And you can bring it out, and that is how you control what you are snapping to or clicking on. And you're going to have to toggle these settings quite a bit here because we don't have a keyboard. So to toggle them, you're going to hold it down, and that'll bring this screen up. And you're going to turn these things on and off. One that you pretty much always want to keep off is down here at the bottom where it says any. That's going to cause you to snap to literally anywhere. You could be snapping on just the satellite imagery in the background. So you don't want that on. And I'm also going to turn off nearest because we rarely need it. I'm going to hit accept. And now it has applied those new snap settings. So, as I said, let's do the simplest situation first. Client says this field's pretty close to being square, close enough. I know it's not square, but it's close enough. I want the pivot point to be exactly in the center of the field, and then just make the pivot as big as you can. I want it to do a full rotation. So to do that, we're going to click on draw. We're going to draw a point. Now, I'm going to drag out my snap tool by clicking on it and bringing it up. I'm going to hover over the edge of this shape. And now that I'm hovering over it, you'll see the blue cross in the middle. And I'm going to snap to it. That's the geometric center of this shape. Okay, now I'm going to hit OK. And it gives it a name for us. You can change this if you want. Maybe put, let's just call it Piv, short for pivot, Piv1. No need to code it. Code is in the name. All right, now we have our pivot point in the very center of the field. So to determine how big of a pivot we can fit, I can visually see here that the closest point of contact is probably going to be from here to here. That is 422 feet, 422.3. So how I measured that was in the bottom. Click measure and inverse. Then I bring my snap out again. I click on it here. 422. So I'm going to shorten it a little bit because you don't want your pivot to run out in the woods. I'm going to call it, let's say 410. Let's do a pivot that's 410. I don't know the lengths that are traditionally used, but let's go at even 10 foot. So I'm going to hit draw. I'm going to draw a circle, and I need to pick a center point for the circle. And I don't really have to bring out the snap tool for this. I can just click on that point. And the radius, let's call it 410 and see how that looks. I'm going to click OK one more time to finish it and accept it. Okay. And visually looking at it, I was wrong. So it's actually the shortest point is over here. So let's see how far out of the field. Let's see how far outside of the field we're going to be running. So let's go measure, inverse, and this is where we play with our snap settings. We go to, now we can use nearest, okay? We go nearest, and nearest close enough. We are 22 feet over there. So that tells me we need to shorten up our circle by at least 22 feet. I'm going to shorten it by 30 feet. So we're going to edit, offset, and 30 feet. And that brings it in 30 feet. I'm going to delete this old one by clicking on it and hitting delete at the bottom. Now we have a fully rotating pivot in the center of the field. Now that's situation one. Let's go over to another field and look at a different situation. So now we're going to be looking at another situation. We just did this field up to the north. Now we're going to do this one. And this is a really funky shaped field here. So there's a lot of different options that the client may consider. Now I will tell you that I'm familiar with this property and it does already have a pivot on it. So assuming that they did a very good job, which I'm sure they did, they actually placed the pivot somewhere in this region. So for the sake of me not knowing how to build a pivot, I'm going to trust their judgment, and I'm just going to put my center point somewhere in here. And again, I need to play with my snaps, so I'm going to turn any back on. This is a situation where it is okay. Hit accept, and I'll put it right on the edge of the field actually. So I'll go with the nearest snap. I'm going to hit okay, accept. Now before I do anything else, I'm going to turn that snap back off because I don't want it. All right. Now we need to know how big can our pivot be. So we're going to measure across the field here, and the way to do that is just hit measure at the bottom. Once again, inverse. I'm going to snap to, let's just do the end point. All right, it is 1,141 feet across this field. Now, does that guarantee that that's the shortest or constraining factor that we have here? No, it does not. But let's just do a little bit of trial and error. Let's draw a circle. Click on the map 1 or pivot point for the center point. Let's go 1120. Okay, 1120 looks great, except for this area right here. It's very close. That looks like an open area. Don't think there'll be any conflict there. And it's looking great in my opinion. That's going to get us maximum coverage. I'm going to hit OK. Now we have our pivot. Okay, let's explore one more situation in a field that is, in my imagination, square. I realize the actual field is not, but let's just pretend for the sake of this tutorial. So this method that I'm about to do will only work for rectangular or square fields. Works best if they are square, but when does that ever happen? So we'll work with a rectangle. So what I'm going to want to do is go ahead and check my snaps. The only ones that I'm going to need for right now is going to be midpoint and maybe center. We'll see. So I'm going to draw a 2-point circle. What I'm looking for is the midpoint of this line, and there it is. Midpoint, midpoint. Now I have a fully rotating pivot within the bounds of my field. And if you want to shorten it up, you sure can. You just edit it, offset, and if you want to bring it in 10 feet off of the edge of the field, then there you go. And you delete the old. Now you have a pivot rotating 10 feet inside of the edge of the field with a full rotation. As we wrap up this video, I want to make a full disclaimer. This video was only meant to be a tutorial on the useful CAD functions in Landstar 8 that may help you to design your own pivot. These were not real designs, and the best methods were not used. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and share.